The following is a presentation of the Force Center podcast feed.
As Obi-Wan Kenobi once said, hello there, and welcome to Force Center Presents Databank Dive. I'm Ken Napzok.
And I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
This is the show, Joseph, where we go to the StarWars.com databanks, pull something out, talk about it, discuss it, laugh about it, maybe needle it a little bit with some fun, but celebrate it most of all. We did a first...
Maybe some weeping.
Weeping?
Weeping's possible.
We weeped for Ben Quadra and Quadraneros the last time out. We did the first season of this on the Companion Sci-Fi app. It is there. If you want to check that out, go to the Companion and get some good sci-fi related content there. Joseph, before we get into this week, this show, what are we doing today? Oh, yeah, podcasting. Before we get to that, we are going to be talking about the video side of us. We got a lot of stuff going on YouTube, and we got a big live show coming up in a few days. Yeah.
That is right. Before we reveal the topic of this episode of Databank Dive, we are going to reveal that we are doing a live Q&A on Friday, February 24th. It is going to be at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And because we like to say the word reveal, we're going to reveal something during the live stream. That's not a good phrasing at all. We're going to make an announcement. There will be nothing physically revealed. That's upsetting. Anyway, Jennifer is going to be able to join us for the first half hour of the live stream. So we're going to have a fun Q&A with Jennifer joining us. And then about a half an hour into the live stream, we're going to have an announcement about a new thing we're going to be doing, a new project at Force Center that we're really excited about. So we'd love it if you could join us for the reveal of information, not body parts.
Not body parts, indeed. Yeah, and the best way to not miss it is to subscribe, hit the notification bell. We got a lot of cool things going up on the Force Center channel. Figure Fights, the second episode is up. We got some shorts, we got some essays, we got more on the way, but the big live show this Friday there. So a little bit of fun housekeeping out of the way. We're going to get to the topic. And I think I'm struggling over words more than normal because I'll reveal a little bit. We're recording a little bit later in our week, Joseph, and I feel out of sorts. I feel like this isn't a Tuesday or a Wednesday. It's a Saturday. What's going on? So I feel like it's a getaway day at school or something. I think that's the problem.
Absolutely. We're out of our Force-centered time zone and everything's bonkers.
It's like out of context running into a teacher from school at the grocery store. Like, no, we're both not supposed to be here.
You do math. You don't buy pairs. That's not right.
You don't do that at all. We're going to reveal the topic, as they say. And this is a classic. And one of those, every once in a while, we love going real small, like something random. The Boba Fett's knee darts was one of the early ones we did for the Companion. That's one of my favorites because it's just so specific. But we're going to go a little bit bigger, a little bit broader with a character that's a classic Star Wars character. But the question is today, how weird is Salacious B Crumb?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Here is what we're going to do. Let's get some basic information out there. You're listening. You're probably like, oh, yeah, Sally B. We know Sally B, but here's what the StarWars.com databank has to say about Salacious B Crumb. A Kowakian monkey lizard with a shrill cackle, Salacious Crumb sat on Jabba's dais, stealing bits of food and mimicking the Hutt, his courtiers and visitors. And the Hutt's obnoxious pet was the palace's unofficial court jester. Which makes me think about, was there an official one? But we'll talk about that. Tolerated because his antics amused Jabba and because of his unwavering support for his master. This actually sounds like a stand-up comedy club where someone keeps getting time because the booker loves them. There's a lot there. Before we get to Wookieepedia, Joseph, any thoughts on the shrill cackling Salacious B Crumb?
There's things in this that are just deadly accurate. Yes, absolutely. Shrill cackle. And then there's lots of interesting conversation points. The stealing bits of food. That's an interesting, conversation point. Did he? Is that 3PO's eyes? Is that a bit of food? Yeah, but the big picture of him as an unofficial court jester, I think when I learned what an actual court jester was, I was like, oh, like Salacious Crumb. Got it.
Yeah. Actually, that's a shared generational history thing then. Yeah. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, okay. That's why I also learned the term Major Domo. A lot of knowledge coming out of Jabba's palace. This idea of the food is interesting to me. Is it like pieces that maybe fell out of Jabba's mouth? Disgusting to think, but it's the reality of maybe Salacious, maybe his life there. I don't know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think he had at least a 17-minute rule. If something fell out of Jabba's mouth or any other part of Jabba, he'd eat it.
He'd eat it there. We're going to go into the wilds of Wookieepedia to see if there's anything more. Some of it here is a little bit repeat, but let's dive in. Salacious B Crumb was known for his shrill, cackling laughter and sophisticated sense of humor like his fellow monkey lizards. Many individuals of his species served as favored pets among denizens of the underworld, retaining their apparently hilarious-sounding names, and Crumb was no exception. Salacious knew many individual secrets, and he was completely willing to use those secrets for his own personal gain or amusement. He had no moral code and was only loyal to Jabba. Man, again, you know a character for 40 years, the year of Jedi, this year Return of the Jedi, and I think I'm learning a lot about him right here.
He's a chaos agent. Yep, he only cares about Jabba. Everything else to him is a cruel, empty joke. I think there must be some stuff from Legends that is supporting the opinion in Wookieepedia, the statement that he has a sophisticated sense of humor. You asked some great questions, so I don't want to get ahead of anything. But this is just, to me, like the center of everything. He clearly is a court jester, but what's he doing to earn that title? Is it sophisticated? What's his material? What are his bits? To quote Mark Maron, who are his guys?
Who are his guys? And you know what I love is this idea that, going back up to the .com description of him mimicking the Hutt is that how maybe he first got in trouble? Maybe when he was brought there and he's like mimicking the Hutt and everyone's like, oh no. And the Jabba, there was a tense pause and the Jabba was like, oh, I like this lizard. And that's why he's around. And that everyone just thinks it's a real sophisticated approach. I don't know. We are going to discuss that in a little more detail, but I'm fascinated by that and fascinated by he's a bit of a gossip power broker.
He knows the secrets.
He knows them. And he's and the no moral code puts him on a level with Dooku already. Crumb's that important.
Oh, absolutely. I think at some point we'll have to discuss, is he a Sith? No, I'm joking. We won't, but he would be aligned with them morally.
That would have been a great question in 1997, I think. All right. We are going to discuss Salacious B Crumb in a little bit more detail. As we always do, we like to start with this important question. Again, most of us spent 40 years with this character. And if you joined Star Wars along the way in that journey in those decades, you spent a lot of time with him as well. But Joseph, how would we physically describe Salacious B Crumb?
Okay, I got two different examples of trying to sum up the feeling of what he looks like, but I have to preface both of them that they both sound awful. And at the end of the day, if you ask me as a kid, and if you ask me now, what does Salacious B Crumb look like? I'd say he's cute and fun. That's what I think he is. But then when I described him, the things that came out were not cute or fun. These are the two ways that I thought to describe him. What if Kermit the Frog somehow merged with an evil murder clown? Mm-hmm. And what if you went over to your friend's house and their angry, pantsless, unemployed uncle was just sitting in a Barcalounger, never bleeping moving, and commenting cruelly on everyone that walked past? That's what Salacious B Crumb looks like.
Yeah, this is great because I'd throw this weird description of if you took a ferret, a chihuahua, and a duck and smushed them all together, you might get a little bit. But then you add in what you just talked about, and then he insults you. He's like a roast comic. He's Don Rickles or something. Every time you walk in, that's the added angle to this there.
Don Rickles. Absolutely. He's like not clever Don Rickles because Don Rickles would actually come up with jokes and insights. Yeah. And I feel like Salacious B Crumb is just, look at this guy. What a piece of bleep.
Yeah. He's a very modern style comic, I would say. He's a streamer. He not light on his feet. This Crumb. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. We'll talk about his humor. As far as the description too, there's the other details I love. Like it's these long, like spindly digits there. The fingers, the thumbs, and it's hard in the toes. It's hard to tell them apart in my mind. The ears that look like they've seen better days. Like his ear looks ripped at the bottom. Maybe that's the angle of the photo I'm looking on Wookieepedia.
Oh no, they've been through something. They did. He got bit, I think, by another quacking monkey lizard for a joke that didn't work. I think one of the other great things about his physical appearance, if you pull up images of Salacious B Crumb and then just type in as well jester outfit, he's so well designed to evoke a jester. With those ears of his, those bitten ears mimic the jester hat. The kind of fur around his neck really mimic the neckwear of the classic jester. So he's really got some jester vibes going on.
He does. And one of the final things I'll say about Salacious in the physical description, if you go to Wookieepedia, the main page, or you just do a Salacious Crumb or Salacious B Crumb, Google image search, one of the first ones up is like his school photo from Wookieepedia. Shoulders up, just staring at you. And I'm a lifelong Muppet fan. I imagine most people our generation, Joseph, have spent a lot of time with the Muppets and maybe have an affinity for them. He is a Muppet, right? He's that style. He's a puppet. He's that. You got Tim Rose, his hand in there, all that stuff. But you look at that photo, it's so real. Those eyes are piercing my soul at this school photo.
The second scariest yellow eyes in all of Star Wars. First Sheev, then Salacious, right?
I don't disagree with that at all. Love it. So that's the physical description. I wanted to toy around with this one. How would we emotionally describe Salacious B Crumb? And that's our emotions, his emotions. Just, I don't know. Where do you go? Where do you go with it?
I think here's where I go to that court jester thing, because he physically evokes it. Like I said, when I learned that's what a kind of court jester is, the sort of the comedy person in the court is like, oh, Salacious B Crumb. But my emotions about Salacious, trying to describe him emotionally, is like he's a really bad court jester.
Yeah,
like, because a court jester should like get up and do things like juggle, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or, if you go to sort of like the idea of what a court jester is, sometimes in reality, sometimes in literature, they are the sacred clown, the one person who can mock and mimic the power, who can satirize things, who can kind of point at uncomfortable truths that everybody else knows, but no one is allowed to say without getting their head cut off. But because it's presented as comedy just a bit from the court jester, they're allowed to sort of release the tension by laughing at the obvious thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what I emotionally think about with Salacious is like, you think of a classic court jester, they're getting up and doing elaborate, impressively performed routines to communicate the larger idea of pointing and laughing at things. Salacious just sits on his little quacking monkey lizard ass and literally physically points at things and laughs. He's the laziest court jester in the entire galaxy.
I really agree with that. I think there's more gesturing going down below there with like some of the dancers and some of the performers, some of the people that we see, the denizens of the court, if you will. And I really agree with your assessment on that. He is a Star Wars Ed McMahon from another era. Yes, sir. You are correct, Jabba. Azerbaijan, sir. Yes, yes. He's just there. And one of the emotions that I would describe him as is just smug and prideful, just a lot of pride and misplaced confidence. Like what did you do to deserve this? Just make fun of Jabba? Like, and you're just cackling as people are thrown down into the Rancor pit to their death. Like, where's this confidence coming from? I don't know.
He's not laughing at anything that even can be interpreted as a joke. It's like, hey, a bad thing's happening to you. Ha ha. Literally. Like I've never taken it as him mimicking Jabba. Maybe that's the intent of Jabba's ho ho ho. So he's like, ha ha ha. But it really is, is your friend frozen on the wall? Ha ha.
Yeah.
His entire laugh is, must suck to be you.
That's the crumb. That's the crumb T-shirt we need. I want to jump to this question. We'll flip questions here in my rundown, okay, because Wookieepedia again describes his humor as sophisticated, and my question was, do we agree with that assessment? Well, I want to even go further than that. Take into our stand-up comedy connection there, and you and I both been doing comedy for years, various forms, various versions of it there. But he is reminding me of the comics that I loathe, who just go up at clubs and that is their humor. Must suck to be you. I'm going to punch down. I'm going to punch across. There's no point to I'm just cackling. And Jabba loves it, whether you guys are not. I bring nothing to the conversation. And that's where I go with Crumb and his humor. So sophisticated? Absolutely not. I reject that. I reject it.
Like I say, there's got to be some Legends material that is supporting the idea of sophisticated, or maybe the word just got maybe is a joke. Another quacking monkey lizard has edited Wookieepedia and called his humor sophisticated to mock Salacious B Crumb. So yeah, no, I think that there's a possibility that there's some stuff we're not seeing on screen. Like, are these his later days and earlier when he was with Jabba? He did it. He worked for it a little bit. Is he resting on his laurels? Did he used to do some like juggling? Like even the quacking monkey lizard siblings that we meet with Hondo Ohnaka, Pick and Pilf Muck Muck, they're scampering, right?
Yes.
They're doing stuff. And I think at some point Salacious used to be more like that, but I think that he didn't like stand in front of the court and give a like performance where he like played two roles and like reenacted, the freezing of Han Solo. Like, I don't think he did quality bits. No. I think he did pranks. I think he did cruel junior high sleepover pranks. Like, I think he put a sleeping Weequay's hand in warm water. I think he like cut Amanamon's walking stick in half. So when he gets up, he falls over. Like, I think that's his material.
Yeah. Oh man, pranks are another thing I just despise too. Take the one currency we have left in this world, trust in each other, and destroy it. I just despise pranks. And
Me too.
Crumb has that prank energy. Absolutely. He just he just cackles. He's just a frat Kowakian monkey lizard gone wild in Jabba's palace. Poor Crumb. Yeah. Oh, and I also, could someone please email Tony Gilroy and say the Muck Muck siblings must be in Andor season 2. All right. Please put them in your serious Star Wars show. Anyways, I digress. All right. So we're diving into it here, but we had that the Adventures of Luke Skywalker book, or I forget the title of it there, by was it Ken Liu who wrote it?
Legends of Luke Skywalker. Yeah.
We had the Tick character. It was like this little tick that was in Jabba's palace that spent some time on Salacious B Crumb. I think that I didn't love that story at the time, I will say, but I got to go back and reread it, because I think that tick gives the exact, the more correct summary of Crumb and his humor. Not good and dumb. Right?
Yes, absolutely. I think we're on the same page. If there's a kind of a nihilism of there's a kind of, you can laugh at humanity's pain, other people's pain, to get to the other side of saying, hey, we all go through that pain and it's fun to laugh at it, right? And Salacious, in bad comedy, in my opinion, just stops at the laughing at pain and doesn't get to any of the catharsis and healing and having a little power over it. It's just you fell down. Ha ha.
Ah, man, not to turn this into, Ken and Joseph talk about stand-up comedy in the comics, so we'll move on. But to this question here, look, we've been hammering Salacious B, Sally B a lot here, but I also kind of like him. And as a kid, did you have any love or kindness in your heart for Salacious? What are some of your favorite Salacious moments, maybe things that stand out to you that you enjoyed over the years?
I had mountains of love for Salacious B Crumb. He was one of my favorite things coming out of Return of the Jedi. I was obsessed with him. I was lucky to get the Jabba playset where you got a little Salacious B Crumb. None of his body parts even move, but I was like, it's great that I have Jabba. It's great that I have his whole dais. But what I needed was Salacious B Crumb. I think probably, I did not know the term headcanon. I think probably my first headcanon was just like one day just thinking about Return of the Jedi going, wait, he died. No, he didn't. He got off. He did not die. That was my first headcanon. That was how much I loved him. And I think it's just because when we really break down the reality of the character in the world, you're like, what a little a-hole, right? Yeah. But he's delightful on screen. He's fun and funny to watch. Some of my favorite standout moments. I think we might have some similar moments, but when Luke is making his way in and he's watching Jabba's tail.
The best.
Yeah, right. I mean, like I picked out a favorite laugh moments. There's a bunch of great stuff. He actually gets a ton of screen time.
He really does.
Yeah. Like, sorry, Wedge. Salacious gets way more screen time than you. But the watching the tail is that weird little beautiful touch of magic that makes him deeper, and you realize like, oh, he does love Jabba. He's obsessed with him, right? Like almost like scary. Like, oh man, I could just sit and watch your tail twitch while you sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a favorite one. I love the shot where he dives for cover when the thermal detonator comes out.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And then, yeah, go for it.
No, keep going, because I got some thoughts on those ones too. But yeah.
Yeah. And then I could go on and on. So that I picked my favorite laugh and I was trying to remember exactly where it lands. It's I think, sound wise, one of the ones that we all know, the Buddha. Oh, because it sounds like he's actually saying something. I don't know what Boda means, but anyway, that's when Jabba's tongue is coming out at Leia. So it's an awful moment to have my favorite, but it is his best laugh in my opinion.
I agree with that. Someone should do an edit of the old the Dido song. I'd like to watch you sleep at night and just have Crumb staring at that tail. Where I went with that one there. Yeah, and all of that. I think there's a couple points where like when Jabba's kind of brushing Luke off, or anyone that's come to visit, this probably happened time and time again in his life. But that Crumb, clearly he knows what's going on. He clearly knows he's on the side of power, whether he feels he earned it or not. He doesn't care. He's there, like I said earlier. He's got some misplaced pride and confidence. But anytime, like when Luke's like, "All right, you give me what I want," and Crumb's kind of laughing with him, with Jabba, like, like it's the evil before it. It also means I like the moment after he's shocked by R2 after, eating 3PO's eye or trying to yank it out. And that shot, and I have it up on my screen here now too, but just like clearly they found like a way to get the puppet up there, to shoot it up, point that camera up, get that, and just him looking down, just cursing out the droids, cursing out R2. It's such a funny moment for me too, because, I think of all the people who cuss in Star Wars, it's not Andor that introduced cussing into Star Wars. It's R2. And to have Crumb, the translation on that is probably, too hot to handle. It's not a kid's movie there. I think they're cursing each other. They're bleeping and mother bleeping and up bleep bleep. It's one of my favorites.
And I'll put your bleep in this bleep. Yeah, the exchange between two of the best swearers in all of Star Wars between R2 and Salacious.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. We're having fun. It's an in-world discussion about Salacious v. Crumb, and he's a bit of a jerk. He is a jerk. He's a top flight a-hole here, but I love Salacious B. Crumb, Sally B. And I know I have some old friends of mine who they independently of each other will still to this day say, "Oh, Salacious B. Crumb is my favorite Star Wars character," and I get it in a weird way. I get it, and growing up with this, and again we celebrate all entry points into Star Wars, but from a kid in '83. Oh, man, it just was something about it. I, again, loved the Muppets. I grew up with them every Saturday night watching the Muppet Show, Muppet Babies later on. I'm just a big fan. And he had that vibe. Even though I was Dark Crystal scared the hell out of me. He's more Dark Crystal than the Muppet Show. Yeah. There's just something about it. And I'll bring up here, I think it is Tim Rose doing it. If time has taken that information from me, but you and I have talked about that from Star Wars to Jedi special making of that came out in the 80s. And you can find it out there. But throughout it, there's clips of Salacious B. Crumb talking in like a human voice. I do think it is Tim Rose doing it. But
okay.
And he's looking at, it's like, we're going to England or so. It's a commentary on the make it of. And that just endeared Salacious B. Crumb to me. Just I imagine that's what he wanted to sound like. Instead, we got the cackles. I just broke. Where anytime I would see his face, I would think of that. He's like looking into a camera, like a black and white camera, like, what's this? And I'm doing Yoda, I know, but I just love that. And that was one of the reasons as a kid I just love Salacious B. Crumb as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He did. He was like the Muppets, but like dark. He was somehow like fun and whimsical, but also dark. I was looking up to verify. It is Tim Rose. There's a great shot of him from an interview from like 2015 as a young man with his hand up Salacious, and he's wearing a turtleneck, so it looks like Hamlet doing the Alas Poor York speech with Salacious B. Crumb.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm searching as we're doing that as well. Yeah, there's some great. Yes, that is quite a turtleneck. That's amazing. Oh, God bless it. Oh, I love Star Wars so much. All right. We have discussed, celebrate a lot. Before we take a quick break, though, Joseph, what is the magic of Salacious B. Crumb? What does he bring to the Star Wars saga for you?
I think his presence in Jabba's palace is just such great Star Wars world building. It's the kind of details that I think have drawn people into Star Wars and made them want to know more, wonder about things. It's just great world building. It sells the picture that Jabba has a court, right? It's one of the first shots when 3PO and R2 walk in there is that we have this establishing shot of Jabba and like, oh, wow, scary guy, got these sort of Godfather vibes, this, royalty of crime. And then we pan down to this weird little shadowy freak just staring at you. And it helps build the world that Jabba has an ego, right? Mm-hmm. This is his court. These are his people to please him and serve him, including this little sycophant, who's in awe of Jabba. So I think Salacious B Crumb does a bunch of world building to prop up Jabba, which is part of his magic.
Yeah.
But then I think it's that there's something so friendly and lovable about him. I loved him because he was a Muppet. But then when you look at all of the horrible things he did, he's like this weird grimdark Muppets, like Muppets, but, really edgy for the 80s. Salacious B Crumb. So he's a master. He's dark. He's a little jerk. But somehow he kind of keeps the whimsy also in this scene where lots of bad things are happening to our heroes.
Yeah, well said as always, sir. I love that, and I think there was something as the magic is an expansion of that world that we just crawled into, this dark, scary world. I've said before, I was still scared. I still get scared easily by movies, but I was a little. There was a lot going on in Jabba's palace. I wasn't sure about. 7 years old, sitting in the theater, and so he was both a point of safety. He was something I recognized, kind of a Muppet, and not in a way that knocks you out of the movie, but just like okay, I like Kermit. I can hold on to him. But then particularly when Luke shows up and Luke is surrounded and everyone's against him and you got Leia there kind of like giving him the look of like, it ain't going to work, buddy. Like we got to, even this little Muppet is laughing at him. And I felt overwhelmed in the most wonderful way. Like it just added to the tension. Like you said, this Jabba, the power of Jabba down to this little cackling monkey lizard is just part of the fun. And then, you grow up with this character. I do not say Salacious Crumb. I try not. Salacious B Crumb. And it's one of those silly, pointless trivia things that even as a 7-year-old, I grasp. His middle initial is B. And I think I love the character for that. And it adds to that, love of Star Wars in our fandoms on an individual level.
Yeah. Well said. I love the B, and I love the picture that our heroes are standing before this truly violent threat to their safety and a little a-hole laughing at them. Like, it's not enough that this actual scary person is going to take me out. Like, can you imagine if Darth Vader had Salacious Crumb and he's going to kill me with a lightsaber and this guy's laughing at me?
Yeah. There you go. All right. This has become a supersized episode of Databank Dive, as one would expect with a character like Salacious B Crumb. We're going to take a quick break, but on the other side, we're going to make it personal and give our final rating as we answer the question, how weird is Salacious B Crumb here on Force Center? Welcome back to Databank Dive on Force Center. I'm Ken Napzok. That's Joseph Scrimshaw in the virtual studio. We're having fun celebrating Salacious B Crumb and also, poking a little bit at the ego bubble that is surrounded Salacious B Crumb and celebrating everything about this character that we can remember from our childhoods. Man, he's been around a long time. We're going to make it personal, though. What situations in your life would have been improved with Salacious on your shoulder or lap or around you? Do you have any?
I have two, and they're very different. One, wedding dances. When you go to a wedding, there's the first dance, and then there's that awkward period of, is anybody actually going to get up and dance and make this a successful wedding? I think if Salacious got up there and started dancing, I think that might help. And then my other one is, because I was just talking to my father about this, colonoscopy prep, just to entertain me while I was trapped.
Yeah, I love that. That's just to keep you in until you go under.
Yep.
Go under.
Yep. And laugh at me, laugh that this is happening, to take the edge off.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Sally B's a little old. I'm sure he's had some Star Wars colonoscopies as well. For me, as a former public safety director, there's been some times where I had to encourage people to leave the mall property. I think Salacious B Crumb would have made a difference. Just him on my shoulder, where often in that line of work, as you were doing your job, you would get reminded by the person of your low station in life. It would be one of the things people would love to tell you often. Including one quote, "My jeans right now are worth more than your life," is what was said to me one time. And I think just having Salacious B Crumb to take that and throw it back at them, where, you're being asked to leave the food court, but you're being asked by this cackling monkey lizard. Like, what do you mean? Your station in life has slipped a little bit. So maybe that. And then, this is an odd one here, but there was a time, obviously in a long-term happy relationship there, but there was a time, believe it or not, I was dumped once. I was dumped years ago by a comic I dated for a while, and we went out for Japanese food in south of the Boulevard in LA there, a fancy restaurant. And next to us was Jennifer Love Hewitt. And Jennifer Love Hewitt got to hear me get dumped. And it's a fun memory as well as painful. But I think if Salacious B Crumb had been there, cackling at me, I think would have lightened the whole situation, the whole mood, and everyone would have had a positive memory instead of watching this sap me get dumped. And I stayed and finished the meal and paid for it, but like a good, but I just think of that moment. It was an embarrassing moment. And I think Sally B would have distracted from everything going on there.
The next time something embarrassing is happening to me and I'm tempted to get mad, I'm going to hear the echoes of Salacious B cackling and taking the edge off.
Because all the energy and focus would have been on him. So you mentioned this earlier, but this is a big question here. Do you want to find out that Salacious survived? And this is in canon. Again, there could be some legend stuff. He goes on to be a Jedi, Sith, who knows? But in the current canon, there's been time, Malakili, the Rancor Keeper we know survived, the Max Rebo. There's room for this. But do you want to find out that Salacious B Crumb survived? Does he deserve a Star Wars redemption arc?
Yes and yes. Like I said, this was like my first headcanon, because I was so looking at the whole scene from Luke's perspective, like, what a victory to have defeated Jabba. And like, wait, no, Salacious. And there's been an image in my mind for decades of Salacious just riding a piece of sail barge shrapnel through the sky, screaming. Which I think he absolutely does. And I think we need a full book of Salacious B Crumb. I think I love that the destruction of the sail barge and of Jabba's power is like this mythic event. It presents an opportunity to change or not to many people. And I like the idea that, keeping it short here, that he wanders a galaxy looking for someone to replace Jabba. And strangely, he ends up working for Baron Papanoida. And Baron Papanoida takes him on and says, okay, but you're going to be a real jester, and you're going to learn the real heart of comedy. We are only cruel. We only laugh so we can come to a place of catharsis, so something negative can become something positive. And I think it's the story of Salacious learning that good truth.
That's well said. You got go picture on that one. I'll take that one. Look, I do. I if there were ever to be a second book of Boba Fett, I don't think there is going to be, unfortunately. But I would like to know that Max Rebo survived that as well. That Max keeps surviving, and then he runs into Salacious B Crumb, who had disappeared, went underground, changed his life around, and maybe was now a street preacher or something. He's sitting there on the street. I'm thinking of like Navarro. You got the Kawaki monkey lizards that we're going to see in Mando season 3, a little bit out in the open. They're not in cages. They're not food anymore. They're just hanging out. Who knows what they're doing? So I think I want to see Sally B talk about the lessons he learned and how you shouldn't get lost in that. You shouldn't get lost in the underworld. And Max Rebo and him team up to be like a traveling, traveling kind of town to town kind of a preacher and the Oregon type of guy. It's a weird setup. It's very 1892 for me, but this is what I want, and I want him to just try to just let everyone know there's a different path if you choose it.
This is beautiful. This is the classic vaudevillian organ grinder and his not monkey but quacking monkey lizard. Max Rebo's playing and Salacious Crumb's doing pratfalls. I love it.
Maybe I went a bridge too far there, but that's what I want. All right, the big question, the final question. Salacious comes from Phil Tippett stumbling over the words, hold on, I got to tie my shoelaces. Is according to the story I was looking up here, that they were maybe going to lunch break and he's like, I got to tie my shoelaces. And someone was like, what? Whoa, hey. So that's Salacious. Crumb is for comic book artist Robert Crumb. So what do we think the famous middle initial B stands for? And if anyone out there listening is like, well, they revealed it in here, nah, we don't care about that. What do we think right now in our headcanon that the famous middle initial stands for?
I was so tempted to go with a B that really makes a lot of sense for his attitude, his energy, which we've discussed. But I think it would be one of those surprise names that speaks of more depths to his character. So I think it's an elegant name. I think his full name is Salacious Bletchley Crumb.
I love that there. I love that there.
Where'd you go?
I went kind of almost where you were headed, I thought, or where you could have gone. I went to Boffo. Salacious Boffo Crumb. Way to, success. A big Boffo box office, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He's just a big success in our hearts.
Yeah. Boffo yucks. This vaudeville act gets Boffo yucks.
Boffo yucks, also probably a creature that's going to show up in some episode of Mandalorian there. There we go. All right, we've reached the end of the show. We've had a lot of fun celebrating and occasionally diving into the psyche of Salacious B Crumb. But as we always do on this show, we're going to rate the wild, the weird, the wondrous factor of Salacious B Crumb. Our rating is based on one of the original Star Wars weirdos, Lobot, up there in Cloud City. So, Joseph, out of 10 Lobot heads, of course, 1 being the least, 10 being the most, how many Lobot heads do you give Salacious B Crumb?
I give him 11. I'm not trying to break our ranking, but I think he gets the full 10, and I think the extra 11 comes from Salacious Crumb actually stealing the device off of Lobot's head and running away with it like a jerk.
I love that.
He's beautiful. He's a Muppet. He's awful. He's mean, but also incredibly cute and lovable and whimsical. He's everything.
He is everything. And you know what? I'm going to go 10 out of 10 where I was headed. Your 11 out of 10 stands. I love it. Yeah, he is, in almost a weird way, Lobot will always be the barometer here, but Sally B could have been it as well. Like there's just something so classic about it. And he's also so normal. You walk in there and you'd expect him to be there. But when you pull back and really kind of look at it, he is delightfully weird, wild, and a little wondrous as well. So that is at 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. We have ranked Salacious B Crumb. What is your thoughts on Salacious B Crumb? Do you have Salacious B Crumb merch? Oh my gosh, send us pictures of that. I'd love to see that. There's some great stuff. I think Jennifer Landa, our very own Jennifer Landa, has the Salacious B Crumb from Galaxy's Edge that's so realistic. My memory may be foggy on that one there, but let us know. Let us know. You can reach out by going to Twitter, and Force Center Pod is our handle there. From there, you can link to all the things we do, YouTube channel, Instagram, and more. You can follow me at Ken Napzok or go to my website, kennapzok.com. Joseph, where do you want them to find and follow you?
Yeah, you can find me on all the social media under the handle at Joseph Scrimshaw, and you can check out my comedy stuff and short films on my YouTube channel. That's Joseph Scrimshaw as well.
There you go, my friends. That is it. We have celebrated Salacious B Crumb. Let's all cackle to ourselves today. See you next time on Databank Dive.